Hello, Year 11. It's Mr. Baines here, talking to you about question 6, writing to argue or persuade. Argue and persuade are very similar, so my 3-1 trick is quite versatile. You should be able to use it no matter what task type you've got. My first suggestion is that you write down a forest before you even think about what the question is, just to remind yourself that you're going to use some of those persuasive techniques. A for anecdote, a story that illustrates your point or alliteration. F for fact, O for opinion, R for rhetorical question, E for emotive language, of course, S for statistics, and T for triple. If you can get at least one example of a forest all the way through your essay, that would be fantastic. So let's just take a standard question. Write a letter to your head teacher, attempting to persuade him or her to accept your suggestions about how to improve life at school. You've written down a forest, so you know you're going to use some of those persuasive techniques, and we just need to think about this question. And my suggestion is, no matter what the task, you're going to have to be persuasive or to present an argument. So let's come up with 3 big ideas, which could be 3 beefy paragraphs. So my 3 ideas for improving school life are: A, no uniform. I will have a whole 3-1 paragraph about no uniform. B, no homework. Again, that will have its own distinct paragraph. And C, I think that we should be able to use phones in class. So the next step is to quickly do for and against charts, starting with your first big idea, which is no uniform. So my first reason for having no uniform will be that it's more comfortable, and greater comfort equals better work. Straight away when I'm planning, I'll go for my against, my counter argument, to anticipate objections. What would somebody who disagrees with you say about your first statement? Well, somebody might argue that students might get bullied for not wearing the latest fashions. I would respond to that straight away with another 4-point teacher's job to make sure there's no bullying, and just to make sure I get that 3-1, that 2-goal cushion to win my paragraph 3-1. I will say that wearing your own clothes allows you to express your individuality. I'll do the same for big idea B, no homework. Let's say we're going to extend the school day, no homework. One good reason is that gives people free time at school, free time at home, I should say. And against that idea is the notion that if students work, say, 9 to 5, that they might get tired because they're only young after all. Nevertheless, I will respond to that by saying that it's more like the real world, so it's preparing students for adult life. And on top of that, I will suggest that it's fairer because some students don't have all of the revision spaces and resources at home, and so this sort of levels the playing field. I'll do exactly the same, quickly planning my for and against for phones in class. The learning resource facilities of phones is spectacular these days, with instant internet access and dictionaries and the like. Against that, people will say, well, people could misuse the phone by pinging each other or looking at inappropriate material. I would counter that by saying that schools should have a strict policy of maybe term-long confiscation. Controversial, but I'll say it anyway. And on top of that, I will look at specifically the camera functionality and how it might save schools money. So I've got my 3 big ideas. I just need now a quick paragraph by paragraph plan. And if I go to my Word document here, here's one I prepared earlier. So there's my for and against charts on the left. Didn't take me that long to do it. And now the plan, I'm going to go for 7 paragraphs, the first of which is just an appropriate intro. If it's a letter, we obviously need a formal introduction if it's a formal letter. If it's a blog, hello bloggers, something like that. Show you know what text type it is. Then my second paragraph will be my first big idea, 3-1. My third paragraph will be about my second big idea. I'll win it 3-1, and I will do the same in my next paragraph, my third big idea. And I've written 4-1 down there. I might even just put an extra reason on. Why not? win it in style. My next paragraph will be an anecdote. I'll tell a story that illustrates my point. So in this task, for example, it could be of a really high-performing school somewhere in the world that doesn't have uniform and how they've got the best results. Just an extra little paragraph to really assert my point of view and just to check A Forest. If I haven't used a triple, I'm going to tick off the T of A Forest to make sure I use a triple. If I use that extra paragraph just to go through A Forest and make sure I've got all of those persuasive techniques that I didn't use throughout the essay, that will be good too. And then an appropriate outro. So in a letter, it's obviously to sign off yours faithfully if you don't know them, and yours sincerely if you do. If it's a blog, perhaps you can invite comments and refer them to your Twitter feed or something like that. So that first paragraph after the intro with my big idea, this is what it looks like. Firstly, I believe that we should not have to wear school uniform. It's 0-0 still, because I haven't given any good reasons as to why that's a good idea. Here we go. This might sound radical, but statistics show that students who are more comfortable are likely to produce better work. So it's 1-0 to me. Go for the argument signpost. Some might argue that no uniform would give rise to problems because students might get bullied for not wearing the latest fashions. It's now 1-1. I need a contrasting connective such as however, or in this case nevertheless. Nevertheless, is it not the job of the teachers to ensure that bullying does not take place? Great, 2-1 to me. Tick off R from A Forest because I've used a rhetorical question. And now to win my paragraph 3-1. Furthermore, I feel it is important that young people are allowed to express their individuality, and wearing their own clothes would enable them to do this. 3-1 to me, paragraph done, move on to the next one. If it's not a letter, if it's a blog, or if it's less formal, then you might think that some might argue, or certain commentators may claim, is a little bit too formal, so you could just use a more personal phrase such as "you might say," or "I know what you're thinking." As long as you get that counter argument in, you can't get a series above without counter argument, and the 3-1 trick really helps you to do this. Good luck.